A hope is not just an idea in our minds that we have, nor is it a dream in our hearts. It's an activity involving sweat, hard work, commitment, dedication.
Here's where the Palma Ceia Church got started. No members, no money, but a lot of faith. And this building, which we see now, is a remembrance that the heart of the church is not a building, but it's the people.
Well, in the theater, if you got there early enough before Sunday school, you could help them clean up and sweep up the popcorn and get the gum off the seat.
We had to pick up popcorn and things when we first got there and kind of clean the place up.
Pete Klein was our teacher, and we were on the right side of the theater, halfway down was our class. And there was another class over here, and the ladies were in the restroom, and the men were in the men's room.
We had a good time. It was wonderful down there. We really enjoyed it. I couldn't eat the popcorn, but we did enjoy it.
And then 4 years later, we were married in the first building that was on the property that we now have. Oscar and I were married on June the 9th, 1950, by Paul, in that little building.
After the theater, we were in the social hall then. That's what we called it.
That's where they started meeting first. They were thinking about getting a portable, one of those chapels from the base, and it ended up being put down on Malaho or one of these streets.
I believe that what they built right after they left the theater was the old fellowship hall, which is now gone. It's where the offices are now.
One of the things that I remember in the 50s is when we were getting started on building this sanctuary, which was going to be quite a big project, but we were getting a good many people in and so forth, and we knew that it would take a lot of planning and a lot of cooperation, but that is what we were getting. And we decided we need to raise money and also add to our membership because we wanted to be of service to the entire community.
We had beautiful amber windows. They were lovely.
Up there where the sound comes through, we had beautiful brass covers for the sound area. They had a fleur-de-lis in each little thing. And when the sun came in, it was so beautiful. This was before the stained glass windows. When the sun came in and hit that, it was just like heaven. I thought that was so beautiful.
No air conditioner right at first. Nobody had air conditioner much at first.
Oh yes, I do. We had fans on the wall between each of these pillars that come down.
But I remember the first Easter. My goodness, we had, well, for the next probably 10 years, we had to put 2 rows of chairs on each side to seat the people, and of course we didn't have the stained glass windows, and they would open up and people would be sitting out there or out here.
It's a very special church. I remember when the stained glass windows came in, they were just beautiful. We enjoyed those. And at the time the minister said, well, I don't know, if they don't give to the apportionments, why should they give to stained glass windows? And Lillian Osborne, who was the secretary, said, believe me, they will give to stained glass windows. And they did.
In the fall of 1961, we joined this church. I'm Charles Curry, and I'm married to Dorothy Curry. We've been married for 70 years now.
We're as old as the church. Our marriage is as old as the church, 70 years. I just crawled down the aisle.
So I suggested to the Board of Trustees that we make a master plan, and they said fine. Well, fortunately, they gave me the job.
I remember some Easters it would be so full, because at that time we had about 3,000 members, and it would be so full that the hall, which used to be our church, was where the wooden chairs would be set up.
There was a temporary wood building where the office facilities are now. And it was just a temporary building made of wood where all the activities took place except for worship services. That's where we had our suppers, and we had a small makeshift kitchen, and everything else took place there. And it was just crowded, noisy. The air conditioning made so much noise you couldn't hear. My master plan called for a complete removal of that and to do a youth center, a recreation building, which we call the fellowship hall, and the nursery, the material center, the library, and upstairs was the youth center. That was to be entirely to the youth center, and the Boy Scouts.
I remember one time they asked me to say something when it was the financial drive, you know, about helping to raise the money, and I used a line I'd heard from somewhere that said, "The Lord loves the cheerful giver, but He'll take it from a grouch."
I never made the money doing work for this church because I didn't charge my own time, I didn't charge it a profit, and there was nothing in the world but expenses. But it was worth the effort to me. I mean, you know, I would have done it even if I had to pay for it.
Paul Wagner decided to start these couples groups. He thought that would be a good thing to do for small groups.
There were couples groups organized in the church, but these people had to meet each other's home. So everybody would meet in each other's home over a course of time. And this saved us from having a lost ministry, because as the church grew, the heart of the church grew, the fellowship of the church grew, until what was simply a mechanism in some other churches now became a source of growth and life.
It was just a small group thing, and it was strictly social. There was no Bible study, nothing connected with the church. It was just a social gathering.
We were about 12 couples for a long, long time, somewhere between 10 and 12 every time.
And we would meet in the homes and have dinner and bring potluck, or some of them catered, or whatever you wanted to do, whatever your group chose to do.
We're still meeting. It's been years and years and years.
Been in a couples group for 50-something years.
It was a wonderful thing. They've been with me through thick and thin, and I think that everybody that's been in one has gained from it.
It's very important because we're very close. And like when Oscar died, they came in and brought food and took care of me, and you know, and now that I don't drive at night anymore, they come pick me up.
Anne was not my kindergarten teacher, but she was my younger brother's kindergarten teacher. And she's been a steadying influence, I think, in the school and in the church and in a lot of our lives for a long time. She's truly an inspirational person.
Ann Smith, of course, was in the day school at the time. Wonderful, wonderful.
There were 3 of us that felt like we needed a day school through the church, because we had a playground day school or kindergarten that children could go to, but that we had all this facility here, and also we thought maybe we could have a day school here. So we talked to Paul Wagner, and he thought it was a good idea. But we had no money. And so the board loaned us $100, and we told them that we would pay it back. And we had 15 students, and 3 of the students were the teachers. So after a year, we had more children, and we paid back the $100. Looking at this picture reminds me of all the children. I don't remember their names, but let me tell you, we've had plenty go through this school, and as they've grown up, I've been honored to be able to see them as they've grown. Of course, the day school, I could write a book, I wish I had, about the things that the children said.
The first organ I remember was a purely electronic organ, and it just used speakers. But I believe it was in the 90s, in the early 1990s, the Hoopers made a gift to see about a pipe organ, to see if we could put some pipes in.
The organ is actually a hybrid organ. We'd started back earlier with a committee trying to figure out how we could get an organ in there, and so the space in the front, as you know, is quite limited, so we wound up with a hybrid electric and pipe organ, but it sounds great to me.
One of the most amazing experiences to me that I've had in the long time that I've been at this church is the music program that we have. We can sing our way through the Bible in spiritual form, classical music, There's a lot of different ways to do that. And music touches so many people when they hear it, but I think it touches them even more when they perform it. I've sung in choirs here all my life, and I can't imagine not being part of a church choir. Just can't imagine.
We had a good choir. We always had a good choir. I think in those days maybe 4 ranges of voices were hired so that it would be a really good choir.
And I love this church and the people here. And let me say, if you haven't been in a church family, you won't have people that support you like the church will. I've had some rough roads and good roads, and they've been there for me all the time.
But the church is, it's very important to me, and it's very important to my faith.
I can just see so many people that influenced the lives of all of us here. Wonderful laymen that gave so much of their time and money and efforts. And I've just been blessed, and I've just been thankful that I came this way.
Other than marrying my husband and having my children, this church was the next biggest blessing in my life.
I do remember the first day I walked in, I was amazed. I thought it was just gorgeous. In the rose window, I thought especially.
The minute I came in here, I knew I belonged here.
Well, I love this church, and I love the people, and I love all of it.
The location and the beauty of this church, I believe, has served as a landmark. Not just a physical landmark, but a spiritual landmark among the people that pass it every day, that worship here and commune here.
I just feel at home when I come here, and recently I've had to miss a few Sundays, and your week doesn't go well. You know, you don't even know what day it is if you miss church. So, but yes, it means the world to us.
I have always found that I could find someone to talk to, whether it was a Sunday school teacher or a pastor or a friend. There was always someone I could call and talk to if I felt like I wanted to talk to somebody. And when I lost Oscar, there was such a good response of people who called and, you know, expressed their sympathy and all, which made me feel good.
When I pray for blessings, this is just about at the top of my list.
I'm second generation in this church. My parents joined in the early 50s, baptized me here, sent me to school here. I was confirmed here, went through the youth group, and it was a wonderful experience. I met my husband here, and we've raised our children in the church as well. They were baptized here and confirmed here and members of the same youth group. It's really kind of fun to see that all kind of come together.
This church has been one of the watersheds in our life in Tampa. I mean, if it hadn't been for this church, I don't know what we would have done. But Dot and I both were extremely active in this church. We did everything that you can imagine, except open the doors on Sunday morning.
We have an obligation to continue our mission to this community, within and without the walls of this congregation.
And I recall another time asking us what the church meant to us. And my final words then were what they are now. I just can't live without it. That's just the truth.